5 guys in the band, 5 guys got divorced within 3 years of getting married. Then you're going to have to start listening. Wow. And you're going to be humbled to learn to listen. Because once you find out that you're not invincible, you start wondering who can help me,
Wow.
Because I'm not who I thought I was.
You already know. It's the Joe Kingdom Perspective.
What is going on, everybody? Your host of the Joe Kingdom Perspective, Deb Alexander here. Excited to present to you part 2 of our very first celebrity episode with Brian Head Welch from Korn. This episode is brought to you by School of Kingdom. Enjoy, my friends. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Joe Kingdom Perspective. This is the show that gives you a kingdom context for episodes off of the Joe Rogan Experience. And so I'm back here with one of the usual suspects, Dr. Tony. My best friend, Keenan duo. What's up, man? It's good to have you as a guest on today. And a good friend, Brian Orm, all the way from San Diego, California. And then a new friend, although he is not new to the kingdom by any means, Brian Head Welch from Korn. Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, double portion Brian's, right?
Right. Let's go. So we're going to have a great time today. We're going to be digging into the latest episode with Maynard from Tool. Let's see, that's episode 1887 of the JRE. And so let's get kicked off. Let's roll that clip.
So it must be an interesting dance in that you have to do it with people that have sort of the same engagement that you do. The same level of discipline, the same
level of discipline, but strengths where I don't have strengths, I have strengths where they don't have strengths. So you're kind of filling in each other's gaps with a common goal. So yeah, so we definitely have common things that we like, but we also bring different strengths to the table to make it work as a whole.
That's one of the more challenging things I would imagine about a band, is that you kind of have to get everybody on the same sort of...
You have to remain open. Your listening skills should be as important and as honed as your regurgitating skills. I'm successful and this is what I do. Fuck you. No. Then it just starts sounding the same. You're not progressing as an artist to like kind of reinvent yourself and see things from a different perspective. My opinion.
Do you see this like this process? Do you see this process more clearly now than you did years ago? Like, is this something that you get better at?
Oh yeah, like anything. It's just you get better. I think you just get better at listening the more you listen. And it's like anything. There's an action reaction, and then there's some kind of reinforcement of that behavior. Right? I found that when I started listening more and reacting more as a listener, the reinforcement of that behavior was that there was a better thing that came out the other end, rather than just sounding like something I'd already done before, jammed over something that somebody else has already done before. So you reinvent. And then the behavior is reinforced because the thing, not from somebody externally, but like from the thing that you're hearing, you go, I've never heard me do that before. Great. Keep honing that knife.
How long can you do that for?
Ever?
Forever.
Yeah, just listen forever. Because you're going to be hearing it at a different age. You're going to be hearing it differently than you would 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Right.
Because
and
you
for
have different
you,
life experiences. So
as long as it's engaging and as long as it's fascinating, you keep doing it.
Come on. So I saw you perk up when he was talking about that art of listening and the importance.
Yeah, what did he say? You got to be equally as...
He said your listening skills are or should be as important and as honed as your regurgitation skills.
Yeah. It's because, as a musician, a successful musician, when you know that you're successful, it's a temptation to just talk and not listen, But when you get humbled over the years, at first when we were climbing up the ladder of success, it was all like what we said. Everybody was like yes men, Everybody who worked for us, it was like yes, whatever you say. Then we start to go through trials, maybe we're not as popular as we used to be. Drug addiction. 5 guys in the band, 5 guys got divorced within 3 years of getting married. Then you're going to have to start listening.
Wow.
And you're going to be humbled to learn to listen, because once you find out that you're not invincible, you start wondering, who can help me,
Wow.
because I'm not who I thought I was. So that's really good. I love when he said that. I was listening last night when you sent me the links, and I rewound that part.
Yeah.
Because he's right, and I love it hearing it from Maynard, because he's one of the best singers, lyricists, performers of our generation. The last 2 or 3 decades.
I agree.
Tool is one of the biggest bands ever. We toured with him back in the day and everything, and knowing his story of where he comes from, with his mom had. It's widely known his mom had faith, and she believed for her healing, and she never got the healing in that from the Lord that she believed in, and he's written songs about it, and just hearing his processing about music and creation and all that stuff is really cool. So thanks for doing this. I never would have listened to it, because the Joe Rogan podcasts are like 3 hours long, and I just don't have time. And so this is very cool. I'm learning stuff from our boy Maynard.
Yeah, let's go. And that's really one of the purposes of this podcast is to help, as my boy Brian here would say, help us get our religious panties out of a bunch, right? And recognize that we can earn value. We can find value in what we would call maybe the secular kings of the earth, that maybe Christianity doesn't embrace or find value in, but in the kingdom you recognize, oh man, that's a son of God, that's a daughter of God, and man, if they are killing it on the earth, they're walking in kingship, even if they're not aware of what that is yet. And so what can I learn from him, and where are we as the church missing out because we have this imaginary sacred secular divide, right?
Yes.
And how can we engage the transaction of honor, right?
I've gotten a word of wisdom from a bum before, the homeless person.
Let's go.
You know what I mean?
Come on.
Just, oh my gosh, did that just come out of your mouth? And it's like the Lord sent, and he's all in all,
Yeah.
And he could peek out of anybody.
Come on.
He spoke through a
That's
donkey.
fire.
Come on.
Let's go. An ass, to use the King James. Just,
Oh, sorry. An
'Cause
ass.
oh my gosh.
Well, I think the definition of a genius is you can learn from anyone.
Yeah.
Ooh, let's go.
Come on.
That's
Come on,
good.
Orm.
Like if you get to a place where it's like, I'm above you, there's nothing you can offer me, it's like, that's a low, dumb place.
Dang. When Brian here was talking a minute ago about, realizing you need people to speak into your lives, I was reminded of your model that you have with the editors. And would you lay that out for the people just real quick, man? Because that's such a brilliant and wise way to kind of structure people in your life so that you are benefiting from the synergy of wisdom.
Yeah, so there's a relational ecosystem tool that I use, and I look at
That was
it.
way more eloquent. Would you please share with the people your relational ecosystem tool? Are you tired of fear-based religious mindsets surrounding the Halloween season? Listen, my friends, the devil is a chump, an unemployed cherub seeking employment in your thoughts. He doesn't own anything, much less an actual day on the calendar. Yes, he was referred to as the ruler of this world before the cross, but simply the prince of the air afterwards. Talk about a demotion. Want to hear more? Then let me invite you to join School of Kingdom's exclusive online equipping event of the fall, Redeeming Halloween. 4 powerful nights, 4 revelatory professors, 4 intriguing topics, namely the kingdom of darkness, witchcraft and the occult, demonic oppression and deliverance, and last but not least, the cloud of witnesses. Register now to gain a fear-free kingdom perspective on this Halloween season at redeeminghalloween.com. Catching this episode way late? Have no fear, you can still purchase limited replay access to these teachings at redeeminghalloween.com. See you soon. This special Celebrity Edition episode of the Joe Kingdom Perspective is brought to you by School of Kingdom, the premier online school for detoxing religion and establishing a solid kingdom theology.
And I assess it usually a couple times a year. And there's 3 circles, so you can just draw 3 circles on a piece of paper. The inner circle I call editors. I don't like the term accountability unless we're talking about money. I don't need accountants in my relationships. I don't need someone keeping a ledger of my wrongs. And so an editor takes your manuscript and they make it better.
Come on.
It's still your story, but it's just better. And so an editor, you've given permission to them, like, hey, if you see something in my blinder I can't see, this, you have a place to bring input if I need input. And sometimes it's like, oh, thank you. And sometimes like, get behind me, Satan. I didn't want to hear that. But it's something we needed to hear, right? And then the next circle is partners. These are just, this is like us. Like we're linked together for a greater purpose. Like, let's change the world. You fall down, I'm going to pick you up, vice versa. And then the last circle is inheritors. And this is, who are we investing our life into? That's our legacy.
Come on.
And I find, I've walked people through this tool just to kind of assess where they're at. And it's interesting because a lot of Christians have a lot of people in the inheritor circle. And so if we're heavy in the inheritor circle, we function like a slave. If we function heavy in the partner circle, we're pretty shallow. And if we're heavy in the editor circle, we're pretty selfish.
Wow.
And so it's like, it's not like you need the same amount of people in every circle. It's like, there's got to be this synergy in that space as well.
Oh my gosh. Mad value right there. Yes. You need to pause that, rewind it, write it down, implement it into your life. Follow this guy, Brian Orm. He's just, dude, you just vomit wisdom everywhere. It's amazing. Come on. Oh my goodness. So speaking of editors, and man, Joaquin, you've been that for me for several years now, man. And I so appreciate and value your friendship and all the value you bring to my life, man. And I hope that it's an equal exchange. And but talk to us a little bit about. Actually, man, I feel like there's something brewing that you want to touch on. So I'm not even going to ask you a question, man. What are you hearing? What do you want to share right now?
Man, you know my jam's relationship. And so relationship is so important at any level of whatever success you find yourself at. Relationship is so important. And to get to the levels that like Brian has gotten to or Maynard has gotten to, you have to have healthy relationships that surround you, that do exactly what Brian just laid out, that are, speaking into your life and, editing and all of these steps are so important to keep us in a place where not just our mind is healthy, but our heart, because where our heart is healthy, then we can fully begin to manifest, what starts off as a thought and manifest it into, a song, manifest it into an invention, manifest it into a system that can bring change to the world. And so, man, it starts from a healthy place. And I believe every single one of us that's here, everybody that's listening, can probably relate to that, because we've all come from a place and we've found ourselves in a place of success. And tomorrow's success is going to be even bigger. And so it all starts with a relationship.
Come on. Super good.
So
Dr.
good.
Tony, talking about the art of listening, one of my favorite things about you is you have the ability to help people articulate the right question at the right time in order for them to be able to hear from Holy Spirit themselves what it is that they are needing in order to experience the breakthrough. And so talk to us a little bit about your relationship with listening, how you see that, and give us a key or two on that.
I do have a really good relationship with listening, which is, I've learned that my voice doesn't always need to be heard. And I tell people all the time, the power of a whisper is just as great and often greater than the sound of a roar. So everything doesn't have to be you roaring. Sometimes it's an opportunity for you to sit and listen to the whisper, right? And so when you're able to sit and engage, which is why I love this, because I'm listening and I'm like, okay, oh no, I'm not jumping in right now because I want to hear what everybody has to say, because it's bringing collective value to my life that I can weave together. And when we understand, we live in an era, I think, where everybody has this realization, my voice matters. Like, I need to be heard. And as long as your voice is the only voice that matters, you can't hear anyone else's voice. So that means you miss the actual voices that matter at any given moment in time when you don't have all the answers yourself. And so being able to engage in listening there is a core value in listening, because you can't comprehend what you're not listening to, and you can't receive from what you're shutting out. And I like what he said in the first clip. He said, I can get in this place and then I have to pause, and he'll ask, he named the two people, hey, what do you think about this, to make sure I don't go too far. So there's a value in listening to what they have to say. And then when you gain that value of hearing what others about to say, you don't need to overwrite what's being said.
Come on.
You'll recognize that it adds value. Relationships, being able to listen in relationships is so key, because sometimes we listen, but we don't hear. And sometimes we hear, but we shut it out because we don't like to listen, right? But when we can navigate those two things, listening and hearing, and then we can incorporate it into something that can then be dispersed. When Brian was talking about in that place of frustration, we've been in the, in the studio, we're riffing and nothing, and I go home and I'm like, he's like, God, Lord, I need something. And immediately, because he's in a place and a posture to be able to listen, all of a sudden his frustration is eased, and he was able to listen and receive a sound that became a kingdom ark that he was able to bring back and distribute, right? And it was the missing piece. So we can miss ark, because as a relationship, I'm picking up the pieces because I'm listening. That whole ark thing, you just jack me up with that, because as kingdom folks, we are to be arks, but I think we think that ark looks like power on power, light on light, salt on salt. But what if we're the ark in the bridge into places that are less salty, that aren't as bright, but because I need to be the main voice to be heard, I can extract value from anything that looks a little bit darker than me, less salty than me. But as an ark, I'm a bridge, so I understand I can listen to what's being said. I can hear from the Father, okay, this is what it looks like, and here's a solution that balances out. So we're releasing the flavor of the kingdom.
Come on.
That creates relationship.
That's
So good.
That's that honor piece. Like, to me, honor's a bridge, right? Like,
Yes.
I'm looking for a way to, whether it's language, a meeting place, like if I'm with Native Americans, like, they have a love for creation that the body of Christ needs to understand.
Yes.
And it's like, so I want to arc in that place, and that's going to require honor, so that I see them correctly, I see their heart for creation correctly, and then I can integrate that from a kingdom lens.
Come on. Sound bath.
I
I did a sound bath.
How dare you?
Canceled.
Right. I didn't subscribe anyway, so go ahead and cancel.
Got
I
you.
said that out loud, huh?
That's awesome.
So, historically, that's New Age, and so we don't get involved in that. And so I was in a workshop and event, and she closed out the event with the sound bath, and I'd never experienced it before, and she is kingdom. And so I was like, what's about to happen? I'm trying to navigate and listen, and it's like, no, I know her heart. I know who she is. I know what she releases. We're all saved. We're all about to go up, because kingdom, arc, bridge crosses you over to elevation.
Hey.
And so she began to release this sound, and it was sound. It was frequencies that I didn't even know existed. And so part of my healing process from when I had that major bout with COVID was I lost part of my hearing, and I've had ringing in my ears ever since. And as she began to release these sounds, all of a sudden, as I felt Jesus just all in the room, and I just literally wanted to fall prostrate, because it was like this moment encounter that was literally marking me. And all of a sudden I began to realize I can hear this. I hadn't heard this sound in 3 years. I hadn't heard this pitch in 3 years.
Wow.
And all of a sudden she hit this note, and it was a ringing that went up, and it like spiraled up, and it matched the ringing that I'd had in my ear since COVID. And when it matched it, it canceled it out, and the ringing began to cease. And as she walked past me with this bowl, she hit this note that unlocked a joy of the Lord that I had not experienced since my husband died. And if I hadn't had a place in my heart to posture my heart to listen. If I would have came in with, this is not up, this isn't, I would have missed an intricate piece that created another level of healing in my heart, in my life, opened up a new level of relationship with the Trinity.
Wow. Come on.
When we're not open to listening, what we can miss in that moment is just indescribable. Looking back, I wouldn't have wanted to miss that moment for anything in the world.
Yeah.
You know how many people do that in the body? They miss their moment just by judging. And
Come on.
They perish because of lack of knowledge. And they shut it down because it looks new agey or this and that. And they shut the door on an encounter that would change their lives forever. And I try to keep that as just have a look of mercy on people like that, because it's easy to get frustrated. But that's what I was thinking about when you said that. It's like so many people have missed out on a life-changing moment in time that would just totally change their consciousness and vision of life in union with Christ.
Come on.
Heavy.
Man. I know you got some stuff on frequency, man.
But we're energetic beings, which people get uncomfortable with, but it's like literally that's what we are. And so we're responding, even arcing is we're tapping into a similar frequency. And so breakthrough has that frequency. It's like we're drawn to people that either we're walking in that breakthrough or it's something that we need. Even on the more negative side, it's like a victim is drawn to a victim. It's like they're arcing from that place of insecurity, lack of identity. And it's like, I think we've probably all experienced this. When you come into a greater maturation of your identity, it's like you're drawn to different people than you were before. And it's like, I remember there was this guy, old prophet, may know him, Bobby Connor, years ago. And I'm in this meeting, he goes to pray for me. Whenever he lays hands on me, I start falling forward into his chest. I couldn't stop him. I'm sorry. It was like pretty awkward. And he's like, okay. And then I'd stop, and then he'd put his hand, I could not control myself not doing this. And then he goes, you're drawing out what's inside of me. You want it. And it's like, and it was true, like without being able to articulate it, it's like, and so that's, we could look at it as, there's anointing, there's presence of God, but it is frequency. Like I would call it the energetics of Christ. Like there's energy to Christ, not that he's contained to energy or that we deify energy, but when we're experiencing the presence of God, it's energetic, right? Your body's responding at a physiological level. There's lots of things taking place. And so, you have the energetics of Christ, you have the immunity of Christ. So the more I'm walking in harmony, it's a place for the frequency of heaven to invade my life, so I'm not at dis-ease. Dis-ease is disease. There's something that's it's not synchronizing correctly. And even the more we're learning, we're going back in time to Eastern medicine here in the West, is we're understanding the power of frequency related to sickness. Like if you take emotion, which is energy in motion, if I don't process an emotion, it will gravitate somewhere to my body, an organ, a system, and it will force the frequency lower, which then makes me susceptible to sickness. I mean, even the CDC says I think it's 84% of all sickness is unprocessed emotion.
Wow.
And it's that energy that's supposed to move. And so we get trapped in time because we're in a feedback loop. We keep revisiting the same place. We cannot move forward in our thought life. Your thoughts can't move beyond what you feel. And so all of that begins to wreak havoc on the body. And then when we just walk in unity, it's like we've all experienced this. You get around someone who's walking a unified life, it's just like, man, there's peace around you, there's joy around you. That there's a frequency to that. And I think we need to understand this more, even just from a scientific perspective, that God has designed us this way to release frequency into a room. So we talk about a sound, and It's like, well, there's a frequency to that. You're releasing the sound. It's like, but even just coming into a space, there is a sound being released without audible sound. There's different types of release of frequency. And so I'm excited for the body to experience this, articulate it more, and understand it more.
Man, come on. Well, you're a key for that, man. You make it available in language that's able to be understood. So awesome. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Is there anything you'd like people to be aware of, be keeping an eye out for? Any projects you're excited about?
You could donate at brianheadwelch.net, or you can send a check or money order to... I'm just joking. Oh, man.
I was like, man, he's hella saved. This guy.
I mean, yeah, I encourage you guys to go check out borm.com too. I've been checking out his teachings and everything, and you get a lot of the wisdom you see here. There's a lot of courses that you can get online and everything. But yeah, new music coming out next year. I don't know. We're just kind of in hiding right now, just doing our own thing. 30 years of celebration of Korn next year.
Come on.
Wow.
Man, that's
Yeah.
a big deal. Let's
30
go.
years.
Come on.
It's just crazy how the Lord just restored everything, and a couple members are on break too, and I took, or one's out of the band, but one's on break, and it's all good, and I mean, I was gone almost a decade, and I came back. I've been back a decade.
Come on.
So you just never know what's going to happen, but very grateful for the season of life. And grateful to be on this podcast with you guys, all of you.
Come
Thanks for
on.
coming. Yeah.
You need to celebrate with candy corn for the 30 years. Your own brand of candy corn.
Yes,
It's time.
corn nuts,
It's time.
That'd be sweet.
corn chips,
Oh my gosh.
popcorn.
So many Nacho Libre quotes coming to mind.
Send me a piece of that corn for later.
Get that corn out of my face.
Yes, come on. So, yep, all things corn, iborm.com, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else you want people to know?
Check out my manga novel. It's
Oh, yeah, talk about that, man.
Yeah, we got a Kickstarter going. That's got 27 more days maybe. But it's House of Many Waters is the name. Want to bring some kingdom to the anime space.
Come on, let's go.
And so it's not a Christian book, but it is a kingdom book.
Come on. now.
Hey.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Joaquin, where can people find you, follow you?
Man, profetasdelreino.com. Man, you'll find, all the resources that we have, and then also be on the lookout on our Facebook page and Instagram. We're going to be announcing the first U.S. conference
Come on.
in Los Angeles. So, yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Let's go. All right. Well, Dr. Tony and myself, as the regular hosts of the Joe Kingdom Perspective, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to the guests. And we'll see you next time, next episode. Peace. We've enjoyed these 2 episodes with Brian Head Welch, brought to you by School of Kingdom. See you next week.